It is now my honor to introduce our guest speaker for today's event, Rylan Smith. Rylan Smith, originally from Beaver Dam, Kentucky, graduated summa cum laude from Brescia University with a bachelor's in political science in 2019. While at Brescia, he co-founded and led the Environmental Club and was a member of Alpha Chi, National College Honor Society, and the Honors College. In his junior year, he received the Spirit of Angela Award for his service to the Brescia community. Rylan went on to study law at Washington University in St. Louis, earning his Juris Doctor in 2022. Later that year, he achieved admission to the Missouri Bar and embarked on his legal career as an immigration attorney at a boutique law firm in downtown St. Louis. In his practice, he advocates for a diverse clientele in obtaining immigration benefits and relief before relevant federal agencies, and facilitates the removal defense of non-citizens before immigration courts nationwide. Please help me welcome Rylan to the stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon. A little over 4 years ago, I stood on this stage as I received the Spirit of Angela Award, named after St. Angela Merici. St. Angela founded the Ursuline Sisters of Mount St. Joseph in the 16th century, and it was the Ursuline Sisters of Mount St. Joseph who founded this university nearly 75 years ago. St. Angela attracted people from all walks of life, rich and poor, nobility and common folk, learned and uneducated. She is often noted for her hospitality, her healthy sense of self in relation to God and others, her contemplative spirit while being involved in the world, and her ability to be a reconciler and a peacemaker. So how I was chosen to receive that award, I still don't know. But when introducing me that day, Sister Pam Mueller quoted me as saying, "I want to attend law school, become a lawyer, and who knows, maybe one day become president." I did go to law school, and I am a lawyer, but spoiler alert, I'm not president. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the Constitution states that the president must be at least 35 years old, so I'm still too young to run, and now I'm not so sure about subjecting myself to that level of public scrutiny. But back then, I wanted to change the world, and I believed I could. You could fairly say I was naive. I would prefer the term idealistic, but what better way to change the world than to be the leader of the free world? So in 2019, I graduated Brescia, and a few months later headed west and began law school at Washington University in St. Louis. Driven by a strong sense of right and wrong and a passion for social justice, I was ready to use the law as a tool to do all the good I could, for all the people I could, in all the ways I could, as long as I could. However, I was quickly confronted with reality. That is, the reality of my own limitations. Our legal system is complex, and in many ways, it's designed to maintain the status quo. That means that the pace of change is slow, and lawyers must oftentimes compromise on deeply held beliefs to secure practical outcomes. Now, this feeling of disillusionment is not unique to me, as it's an experience shared by many law students and young lawyers. But I have to believe that this feeling of powerlessness has been increasingly intense and widespread in recent years. From the COVID-19 pandemic and climate change to racial inequity and attacks on our democracy, the world has seemed to be burning around us, both literally and figuratively. Before we continue with today's celebrations, allow me to briefly reflect on two of those fires raging around the world. In August 2021, the United States ended 20 years of war in Afghanistan. The people of Afghanistan watched their own government collapse and their president flee, handing over the country to the enemy, the Taliban. A mere 6 months later, the Russian military, without provocation, without justification, and certainly without necessity, began a brutal assault on the people of Ukraine. Now, if you're anything like me, you watch these historic tragedies unfold on your screens. From the safety of millions of miles away, feeling a profound sense of helplessness. I called Congress urging them to act, and I donated a few bucks here and there. But despite my education, my passion, and my commitment to make a difference, I could not change the world. Yet it was amidst this immense human suffering that I came to realize and appreciate my true ability, not to change the world, but to make a world of difference in the lives of others. As an immigration attorney, I've had the privilege to represent and advocate for a diverse clientele, including dozens of Major League Baseball players and coaches. But now allow me to share a few stories of the clients that I am most proud to have represented. When the Taliban retook power 2 decades after being ousted by U.S.-led forces, they launched a campaign to hunt down Afghans who had supported the United States during the war, including those who served as translators and interpreters or soldiers. Aiming to rescue as many of our Afghan allies as possible, my law firm partnered with a veteran-founded initiative aptly named the Afghan Rescue Project. In one particularly memorable instance, our team orchestrated a fake wedding in Afghanistan as a way to gather over 300 individuals at a single location without raising suspicion. When Taliban forces did arrive, they were deceived by our staged celebration, allowing us to keep everyone safe right under their noses. With help from prominent figures like former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, we secured a temporary haven for our Afghan allies in Albania, where the Clintons are revered thanks to NATO's intervention to protect ethnic Albanians in Kosovo during Bill Clinton's presidency. In the summer of 2022, we welcomed the first family from this group of Afghans to the United States. The father, who fought alongside the United States against the Taliban, was admitted into the country as a refugee along with his wife and their youngest son. Because their elder son was over 21 at the time and could not be processed as his father's derivative, he was paroled into the country on humanitarian grounds. In the case of the father, his wife, and their youngest son, I personally prepared and submitted their applications for lawful permanent resident status, commonly referred to as green cards, which are currently being processed. For their older son, whose situation was complicated by age restrictions, I prepared and submitted his application for asylum and later represented him at his asylum interview. His asylum application was ultimately approved, and he is now on a path to obtaining a green card. Let's now turn our attention to another continent and another group of clients. In Ukraine, Vladimir Putin's premeditated attack has robbed thousands of their lives and livelihoods. In early 2022, 2 Ukrainian orphans made their way to our firm's doorstep, desperate for a new beginning. I prepared and submitted their petitions for what is known as special immigrant juvenile status, and just a few months later, they had their green cards in hand. While Ukraine and Ukrainians have borne the brunt of this conflict, the war in Ukraine has further exposed and intensified the suffering of many Russians under Putin's repressive regime. Among them is a Russian dissident who fearlessly attended rally after rally, voicing his opposition to Putin's act of aggression. To truly understand the bravery this required, we need look no further than the life of Alexei Navalny. During a military parade in the heart of Russia, my client was arrested for staging a single picket protest with a homemade peace sign that read, "No to war." Fortunately, he managed to escape Russia unharmed, and once safe, engaged our firm to secure a future for his family in the United States. I then prepared and submitted their asylum applications, totaling 2,000 pages, which are also currently being processed. As an immigration attorney, my ability to change the world is extremely limited. I cannot send the Taliban back into hiding, nor can I repel the Russian military back over the international border they crossed 2 years ago. Yet it is in my work on these cases in particular that I came to realize and appreciate that while I may not have the power to change the world, I can make a world of difference in the lives of others. The clients whose stories I have shared today, including our Afghan ally and his family, the Ukrainian orphans, and the Russian dissident, all now have or are on a path to legal status here in the United States. And legal status represents far more than a mere designation on a piece of paper. It signifies liberation from the ravages of war and the persecution that once dominated their lives. Additionally, it provides a stable foundation from which they can rebuild and flourish. Now, ironically enough, just as of 2 days ago, I stepped down from my position as an immigration attorney, and in the coming days, I will begin a new chapter as in-house counsel for an energy company here in Owensboro. Now, I could play with my words as any good lawyer might and claim that in my new role, I'm making a world of difference in someone's life every time they turn on their gas stove. But I believe I already shared enough about myself. If there's one thing I want the students in the audience to take away from what I have said today, it isn't any specific detail about my journey after Brescia. Rather, the crucial point I want to impress upon you is this. With a degree from Brescia, you too can make a world of difference in the lives of others. But the students here today, both in person and joining us online, will go on to become nurses, social workers, therapists, teachers, and some may even serve in the military. And you don't need me to tell you how profoundly these individuals can make a world of difference in the lives of others. Perhaps someone in the audience, though, will go on to become, say, a real estate agent. And if you can help a family find their dream home, I would argue that you've changed that person's world. Perhaps someone will go on to become an insurance adjuster and will have the opportunity to help that same family rebuild their dream home after a tornado or some other natural disaster. And I would again argue that in doing so, you've made a world of difference in those lives. And someone here might go on to become a financial advisor and can help someone drowning under the burden of student debt. If so, please give me a call. Thank you and congratulations today of all today's honorees.
Thank you, Rylan, for that wonderful message. You're an inspiration in demonstrating what wonderful things Brescia grads can accomplish. Thank you again.